Have you ever been up to? I don't think I told this story, but a couple weeks ago. So I'm fabulously wealthy. You might not be able to tell by my dress or.
That's what the wealthy do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm eccentrically wealthy, and that's why I live in a casita. And so,
do you really?
Yeah,
I love that. I used to live in one.
That's cool.
Los Ranchos.
And so I live with this guy who's total Trumper. And over the past
Your
few
roommate
years,
is.
Yeah, big
Okay,
time.
that's interesting.
Like, I think I saw him wearing a bandage the other day on his ear.
In support? There's some of that going on at that convention, man.
But we get along. We're cool. He's really awesome. We had a few political disagreements, but then we kind of like learned just not to talk about that stuff. And we're good buddies and stuff. So a couple weeks ago, he wanted to take me out to boating, do boating. Do you do much boating?
My parents have a boat, but we haven't been on it in a while. We usually just go to fish, like at Ute Lake, like way out there.
Yeah.
We'll go way out to places. But anyways.
So you like boatish, boat culture?
A little bit. I remember my buddy had me try to park. He had a yacht. Park his yacht at this harbor in the Midwest one time, and it's his new boat. He's not skilled either, but he thought somehow I would be better at parking this thing. Nightmare.
Really?
Yeah, because it's his money, and I'm like, I've never done this, and then to try to get in against the buoys, in a marina.
Yeah, and
that's a real skill. It's like having a CDL.
Alan, can you find something similar to Boats and Hose for us, like some music?
I was gonna say, I watch Below Deck, and they have to park those mega yachts, and it looks like a nightmare.
Would you ever try some shit like that?
If I was taught, maybe once or twice, maybe, then I would want to wreck someone's multi-million-dollar yacht.
Do they get much training, or?
Yeah. Captains aren't really gonna give them the responsibility if they don't think they're gonna.
When I do comedy on cruise ships, people will always be like, "Hey, can you get me into the crew area?" Because they've seen Below Deck and they think it's exactly like Below Deck.
We want to see you guys fucking.
And they're like, "Well, the crew bar on a ship is for the crew, and they let entertainers in there. They used to. It's always in flux, for insurance reasons, if you can go in there. But a beer is 75 cents.
Oh, nice.
But it's like the Star Wars cantina." Not by design, just by self-segregation. Like the people from India will sit in one section.
Oh, sure.
And then the Philippines are represented. I'm usually in the Philippines section. That's like a lot of my friends are from there.
Cool.
And then there's there's hardly any Americans on cruise ships. There's like 3 of them.
You got to pick a group.
Yeah, and you win. The whole group looks at you like, where you sitting with? But I'm glad when I've been out there. I've been doing it too long, so I'm friends with all of them. So I'll be like, what do I feel like tonight? And then you just meander around the group. And the best part is, where you stay is like, 10 feet away, so you can get drunk and then you just stumble home as opposed
get home real easily,
it's a
right?
piece of cake. If you were out doing this, you're like in New Mexico, wherever you go, you're kind of like, all right, one beer it is. Their state doesn't play. Although recently, I think you can get out of DWI convictions.
Oh yeah, I think you just had to pay. You had to grease the right wheels, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to help to because we're kind of friends, and so he wanted to take me and his potential wife out for a boating trip. So we head out boating. First, we had to put gas in the boat, and as soon as we park, his wife is like, "John, will you switch seats with me?" I guess they had a little bit of a row. There had been a little bit of a conflict that morning, so I was like, "Sure, no problem." Yeah. So switch seats. And that was cool. But the entire way up there, as we're driving up, this gentleman farted, which was not very gentlemanly. And we're not on close, quarters farting. Like, Alan would never do that around me because he's very modest
I would try
gentleman.
not to, yeah. I don't like to smell other people's farts, so I'm not going to do it to people.
Was his wife used to this? Like, she didn't blink?
She did not. Maybe that's why she asked to sit in the back.
Did you ever think it was like the White Lotus, where they were going to get you out there and she's going to off him, and then you're going to have to put the boat back on the trailer?
No, I know nothing about boats. So, I was literally no, show me how we do this.
Yeah.
So we make the two Conchas.
Oh, sure. Great Lake.
Right? Great Lake. When's the last time you were out there?
It is one of the Great Lakes.
It is what it has, finally. They were petitioning for it to be one of the 6th
They're moving
Great
it
Lake.
soon now. It's being upgraded to
Imagine
the Great
if someone
Lake.
from the Great Lakes saw one of our lakes. Even Elephant Butte, they'd be like, "Are you kidding me?
Is this a lake?
You sad realtors."
Do you remember the last time you were up there? Anybody? You?
Conchas?
Yeah.
Ooh, been a while. I think I've been in Navajo sooner than Conchas. You been to
Okay.
Lake Navajo?
No,
Navajo Lake?
no.
It's a good one, man. Plus all the fly fishers up there, they love the animus.
Oh, is that?
Or the San Juan? The animus, I think.
Oh yeah, my doctor said I should have an animus, but I was like,
Oh,
eh,
no, don't do
off.
it until you have to.
Yeah.
Alan, you ever have one of those, an animus?
No,
You don't want
I'm
that.
lucky enough.
Especially if it's by a fly fisherman.
Yeah,
You want
oh, man.
a registered.
They know how to
Precision.
flick the wrist, though. Alan, have you been to Conchas Dam?
Yeah, I was young. I was probably like 6th grade.
Okay.
But it was my aunt and uncle had a mobile home out there, so
Oh,
it was
nice.
just like, hey,
Classy.
come hang out for a few days, and it was a good spot.
That was like their vacation spot, their cabin or something. They lived out there.
Yeah, they lived out there part of the year.
Oh, nice.
And now they do that out in Havasu. They do the same thing.
Lake
Wow.
Havasu.
They've invited us out there, but it's just a matter of like making that happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a cool place.
But they had a boat, and so they took us out on it, and we went speeding around in a little canyon area.
Ah,
It was pretty cool.
Are you much on boat culture? Do you know about boats? Would you be able to get a boat onto the water? Like if you had one other person and you told them how to do it?
Yeah, I could probably, do something without it being too bad.
What I'm embarrassed about 15 years of doing comedy, not continuously, but about 15 years
Yeah,
on cruise ships, I know so little.
about boats.
Yeah, you think you would pick something up, but that's ridiculous, just because you hang around it. I know starboard, that's your right.
Ah,
Port, that's your left.
okay.
Aft and forward, explanatory. Aft and the back, forward and the front. And I have been in the engine room of a cruise ship that accommodated about 5,000 people. So you
Okay.
can imagine the size of one engine, and they keep
Yeah.
2 spares.
Oh, really?
So that's cool, but I don't know anything about, all those years
Like
of being
the
out there.
doing boating stuff.
You hardly even feel the ocean most of the time.
So that was one of the
Yeah, where do they
allures.
fit the crab pots on those things?
The crab pot, like deadliest catch.
Yeah, dude.
Where do they keep the meth pipes?
Man, that's rough on Alaska. That is a rough state, man.
Dude, you got to be awake and ready at all times. I'm okay with that. And so
whatever gets us king crab at $9 a pound.
Oh,
Can you
hell yeah,
imagine?
dude.
Oh, man.
I wish it was that low.
That's the thing. When you go up there, I go, oh, salmon and crab, it'll be like pennies.
No.
Forget It's more expensive than here because they're like, it's the freshest you'll ever have it.
We can mark it up. I mean, it's worth it.
Exactly.
So we make that 2-hour drive. We get out there. I smell his farts the whole way.
Oh.
Whatever. They're foreign farts I've never smelled before, so it makes it twice as bad. And like it just
Your body's not adapted to it.
no,
Yeah, man.
no. I haven't gone smell blind to it yet.
Oh, this is horrible.
So I roll down the window every time he lets a gasser out, and they're all silent. They're all very deadly, and so I just
What's his diet? What's wrong with this guy? He's
he's-
older?
He's a trumper. Steak, potato,
Okay.
some greens,
A lot of jerky.
Black Rifle coffee. Plenty of super male vitality.
Yeah,
Oh.
alpha brain.
Yeah.
So we make this 2-hour drive up, and it's hot as shit too once we get there. So we get out. He starts telling me what to do, and I unhook the boat, and he's getting ready to back the boat up. And he's like, let me just go ahead and start her up real quick. He goes to start her up. Nothing.
Oh, after all this.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing. Turns the key, nothing. He flags down some guy. He's like, hey, we need to jump. The guy's like, yeah, don't worry. I got you. I got like this little jumper pack. He brings
Okay.
out his jumper pack. And he hooks it up, and my buddy turns the key, nothing. So then he's like, my son's coming. He's got a bigger jumper pack. And
Oh, I don't think the pack's the problem, sir.
well, that's what I was
The
thinking.
mice have eaten your cables.
So then his son shows up, and sure enough, he has a fucking Mamma
Massive,
Jamma
yeah, Yeti.
Jumper pack, and he hooks that up, and it's nothing. Nothing. They turn the key, nothing. And so my buddy, I felt bad for him because I was like, in his head, he probably had this like perfect trick plan that where it'd be cool and we'd be laughing on
All
the
the
boat,
pieces were in
have a
place,
beer in my
yeah.
hand.
Yeah,
his wife
man.
would be like, it'd be like
Eat some
picturesque.
pork rinds. That's what my family does. Anytime on a boat, always have
Yeah,
pork
dude,
rinds.
exactly. And none of it came to pass. We drove all the way up there, couldn't get the boat started, drove all the way back. He continued to fart the entire way back. I thought he was
done.
Soon.
I think he's going to die soon.
And part of the way back, I had it with his farts, and he was like, "Oh, it's the dog," and I was like, "Does your dog need to shit?"
There was a dog in the cab too.
Yeah, and I love this dog. He's a good dog.
This is like a murder mystery.
And so we're driving back, and he's like, "It's the dog," and I was like, "Well, the dog probably needs to shit based on what I'm smelling." He's like, "He'll tell me."
The dog's finally trained.
By the way, there was one time when I was working at a liquor warehouse where like I was having like breakfast burritos where I decided that bok choy was a good ingredient to mix.
Of course.
I love bok choy in a breakfast burrito.
But in a breakfast burrito
adventurous.
along with soy chorizo.
Oh,
And
yeah.
So like,
you're going healthy. I get it.
it just
Okay.
it made sense in my head. It was terrible, and it was apparently even worse for the warehouse people that I worked with because like I was on this lower level and I just. A little bit of a fart, and then people upstairs were like, "Dude, do you need a shit?"
Oh man,
People upstairs.
Yeah, people upstairs.
that's really traveling.
Yeah,
Those particles didn't dissipate.
no,
They
it
just
was
kinda
very
traveled
dense.
up.